Sarah Chun wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stared at the broken solar panel in front of her. The metal was twisted and burned, completely useless now. This was the third one this month. Around her, the other engineers of New Brisbane Colony worked to clean up the mess that had fallen from the sky just hours before. "More junk from our friendly neighbors," muttered Tom Rodriguez as he dragged a piece of strange purple metal toward the scrap pile. The metal was warm to the touch and seemed to glow faintly in the dim light of the colony's backup power system. Sarah nodded but said nothing. She had learned not to complain too much about the alien garbage that kept raining down on their world. Complaining did not fix the damage or bring back the crops that had been destroyed last week when a chunk of something that looked like a giant crystal had crashed into their main farming area. The year was 2387, and humans had spread across 12 star systems. They were not the strongest or the smartest species in the galaxy, but they worked hard and tried to build good lives on the planets they could reach. New Brisbane was one of the newer colonies, home to about 50,000 people who had come here looking for a fresh start. The problem was their neighbors. The galaxy was controlled by two main powers. The first was called the Vex hierarchy. They looked like living crystals and thought they were better than everyone else. The second was the Nethys collective, beings made of pure energy who treated other species like annoying pets. Both groups saw humans as nothing more than pests who were taking up space in valuable star systems. At first, the aliens had ignored the humans completely. Then, as more human colonies appeared, the aliens started to get annoyed. Instead of going to war, which would cost them time and resources, they came up with a different plan. They decided to use human space as their garbage dump. It started small. A few broken machines here and there, dumped by passing alien ships. Then it got worse, much worse. Now, massive cargo ships arrived every few weeks, opening their holds and pouring tons of waste into human space. Old computers, broken tools, chemical waste, failed experiments, outdated weapons, and things that humans could not even identify. The message was clear. Humans were so worthless that their entire civilization could be used as a trash can. Sarah remembered the first time she had seen one of the garbage ships. She had been working on the colony's communication array when the massive vessel appeared in orbit. It was easily 10 times bigger than the largest human ship, shaped like a smooth black egg covered in glowing lines. For a moment, Sarah had thought it might be there to make contact, maybe even to trade. Instead, the ship had opened like a flower, revealing a cargo hold filled with thousands of tons of debris. The waste had poured out in a slow, steady stream, some of it burning up in the atmosphere, some of it crashing into the planet's surface. Sarah had watched in horror as chunks of alien metal and pools of unknown chemicals had rained down on her world. That had been 2 years ago. Since then, the garbage drops had become routine. The human government on Earth had tried to protest, sending official messages to both alien powers. The Vex had responded with what could only be described as laughter, saying that humans should be grateful for the free materials. The Nethys had not bothered to respond at all. Now, Sarah stood in the wreckage of another garbage drop, trying to figure out how to keep her colony alive. The backup power system was failing, and they needed the solar panels to work. Without power, the water recycling system would shut down. Without water, people would start dying within days. She knelt down next to the broken solar panel and started removing the damaged parts. As she worked, she noticed something strange. The panel had been hit by a piece of alien metal, but instead of just crushing it, the metal seemed to have melted partially into the human technology. Where the two metals had joined, there was a faint blue glow. Sarah called over to her assistant, a young man named David Park who had studied engineering on Mars before coming to New Brisbane. "Dave, take a look at this," she said, pointing to the glowing section. David crouched down beside her and examined the metal. His eyes widened. "Sarah, this is impossible. Look at the energy readings." He held up his scanner, and the device was showing numbers that should not exist. The small glowing section was producing more power than their entire solar array had managed on its best day. That cannot be right, Sarah said, but she took her own scanner and confirmed the readings. Somehow, the alien metal had not just damaged their technology. It had improved it. They spent the next hour carefully removing the hybrid section and taking it back to the colony's small laboratory. Under better equipment, the truth became even more amazing. The alien metal was not just producing power. It was producing clean, stable energy that their instruments could barely measure. Sarah called a meeting with the colony's leadership that evening. Governor Williams, a tired-looking woman who had been trying to keep New Brisbane alive for 3 years, listened as Sarah explained what they had found. "You are telling me that the aliens' garbage is actually treasure?" Williams asked. "Not all of it," Sarah replied. "Most of it really is junk, at least by our standards, but some of it—" "Governor, I think we have been looking at this all wrong. What if the things they are throwing away are not broken? What if they are just outdated?" David nodded enthusiastically. "Think about it. These aliens have technology that is hundreds or maybe thousands of years ahead of ours. Something that they consider old and useless might still be incredibly advanced by human standards." Williams rubbed her temples. "Even if that is true, what can we do about it? We do not understand their technology. We cannot build more of it." "Maybe we do not need to build more," Sarah said. "Maybe we just need to learn how to use what they are giving us." The next morning, Sarah organized teams to go through the debris that had been collecting around the colony for months. She told them to look for anything that seemed to have working parts, anything that glowed or hummed or showed signs of activity. What they found was incredible. Buried in the piles of alien waste were power cores that still functioned, computer systems that still processed data, and machines that still worked even though the aliens had thrown them away. Most of it was damaged, but much of it could be repaired or at least partially used. Sarah found herself staring at a device that looked like a metal flower. According to her scanner, it was some kind of shield generator. The outer petals were cracked and several of the inner components were missing, but the core was still active. With the right repairs, it might actually work. That night, she sent a message to other human colonies asking if they had found anything useful in their garbage drops. The responses started coming in within hours. Colony after colony reported similar discoveries. Broken alien technology that still worked. Damaged machines that could be repaired. Power sources that produced energy beyond human understanding. Sarah realized that the aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength. Humans were survivors. They were adapters. They could take anything and find a way to make it work. The aliens thought they were burying humanity under garbage. Instead, they were giving humans the tools they needed to become something much more dangerous. As Sarah worked late into the night, carefully repairing the shield generator with spare parts from other alien devices, she found herself smiling for the first time in months. The aliens wanted to break the human spirit by treating them like a garbage dump. They were about to learn that humans did not break easily. And when they did not break, they became something their enemies had never expected. They became angry. Dr. Marcus Webb stared at the massive pile of alien debris floating in the cargo bay of Research Station Prometheus. The station orbited Earth's moon and served as humanity's main center for studying alien technology. What had once been a small research facility was now a sprawling complex of laboratories, workshops, and storage areas filled with strange objects from across the galaxy. The debris had arrived 3 days ago on a cargo ship from the outer colonies. Word of Sarah Chun's discovery on New Brisbane had spread quickly through human space, and now every colony was sending their most interesting finds to Prometheus for detailed study. Webb picked up a device that looked like a twisted piece of silver rope. According to the notes from the colony that had found it, the device had been used to move heavy objects without touching them. The colonists had accidentally activated it while trying to clear it from their landing pad, and it had lifted a 2-ton piece of machinery into the air like it weighed nothing. Gravity manipulation, Webb muttered to himself. They just threw this away. His assistant, Dr. Jennifer Chang, walked over carrying a glowing cube about the size of a human head. The cube pulsed with soft blue light and hummed quietly. "Marcus, you need to see this power reading," she said. Holding up her scanner, Webb looked at the numbers and whistled softly. "This thing is producing enough energy to power a small city, and according to the reports, the aliens discarded it. Because it was only 95% efficient instead of 98%. Chang nodded. "It gets better. Or worse, depending on how you look at it. I have been going through the reports from all the colonies, and the pattern is clear. The aliens are not sending us broken technology. They are sending us old technology." Webb set down the gravity device and gave Chang his full attention. "Explain." "Look at this," Chang said, pulling up a holographic display. "We have found 17 different types of power cores, all functional, all producing massive amounts of energy. The newest one we can identify is probably 50 years old by alien standards. The oldest might be several hundred years old." She changed the display to show weapon components. "Same pattern here. We have found energy weapons that can cut through any material we have tested, shield generators that can stop asteroid impacts, and propulsion systems that bend space itself. All of it discarded not because it was broken, but because newer versions exist." Webb sat down heavily in his chair. The implications were staggering. "They are so advanced that technology we can barely understand is literally garbage to them." "It gets worse," Chang continued. "I have been analyzing the construction methods, and these devices are built to last for thousands of years. The aliens do not throw things away because they break down. They throw them away because they get bored with them." Webb stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the lunar surface. Below, he could see dozens of ships arriving and departing, all carrying alien debris from human colonies. What had started as a trickle 3 months ago had become a flood. "How much of this stuff is out there?" he asked. Chang consulted her tablet. "Based on the reports we are getting, the aliens have been dumping waste in human space for over 2 years. Conservative estimates suggest there are millions of tons of debris scattered across our 12 star systems." Webb turned back to his assistant. "Millions of tons of advanced alien technology just floating around waiting for us to pick it up." "That is the good news," Chang said. "The bad news is that we still do not understand how any of it works. We can activate these devices. We can use them, but we cannot build them ourselves. Every piece of technology is a black box to us." Webb nodded thoughtfully. This was the challenge that kept him awake at night. Humanity could use alien technology, but they could not manufacture it. They were completely dependent on whatever the aliens chose to throw away. "Show me what we have learned," he said. Da Chang led him through the laboratory, stopping at various workstations where human scientists were carefully examining alien devices. At the first station, a team was studying what appeared to be a broken helmet. "This is a neural interface," Chang explained. "When activated, it allows direct mental control of compatible technology. The colony on Kepler 7 found it and accidentally linked it to their main computer system. Now they can operate their entire infrastructure with thought commands alone." At the next station, scientists were working with a collection of small metal spheres, programmable matter, Chang said. "These spheres can reshape themselves into any form the user desires. Tools, weapons, building materials, anything. The aliens threw them away because the response time was apparently too slow." Webb picked up one of the spheres. It felt warm and seemed to pulse gently in his hand. "How slow?" "About 3 seconds to complete a transformation," Chang replied. "Apparently the newer versions can do it in under 1 second. Webb shook his head in amazement. Technology that could reshape itself in 3 seconds was considered too slow by alien standards. They continued through the laboratory, examining device after device. Each one represented technology that was decades or centuries ahead of anything humans could build, yet all of it had been casually discarded by species that considered it outdated. "The real breakthrough came last week," Chang said as they reached her personal workstation. On the desk was a collection of devices that had been partially disassembled. I started trying to combine different pieces of alien technology to see what would happen. She picked up what looked like a standard human tablet computer, but it glowed with the same blue light they had seen in many alien devices. I connected a human data storage system to an alien processing core. The result is a computer that can process information about 1,000 times faster than anything we have ever built. Webb examined the hybrid device carefully. Does it work? Chung smiled and activated the tablet. The screen came alive with complex calculations and data streams that moved too fast for human eyes to follow. It works better than I expected. The alien technology seems designed to be compatible with other systems, even human ones. Why would they design it that way? Webb asked. I think it is because they never throw anything away until they are absolutely sure they will not need it again, Chung explained. So they build everything to work with everything else, just in case. Webb walked back to the window, his mind racing. If human technology could be combined with alien technology, the possibilities were endless. They could build ships powered by alien energy cores, weapons guided by alien computers, and shields generated by alien force fields, but there was still the fundamental problem. Humans were dependent on whatever the aliens chose to discard. They could not create more alien technology, only use what they found. We need to change our approach, Webb said finally. Instead of trying to understand how alien technology works, we need to focus on learning how to use it better. How to combine it, how to modify it, how to make it work with human systems. Chung nodded enthusiastically. I have been thinking the same thing. Humans have always been good at adapting and improvising. Maybe that is our advantage. Webb turned back to the laboratory, looking at the dozens of alien devices scattered across the workstations. Each one represented power beyond human understanding, but they were also tools that could be learned and mastered. Send a message to all the colonies, he said. Tell them to stop trying to repair alien technology to original specifications. Instead, tell them to experiment, combine different devices, modify them to work with human systems. See what happens when you connect an alien power core to a human weapon. Chang looked concerned. That could be dangerous. We do not know what might happen, Webb smiled grimly. The aliens already think we are primitives playing with forces we do not understand. Let us prove them right. But let us also prove that sometimes primitives can be very dangerous. Over the next month, reports started coming in from across human space. Colonies were experimenting with alien technology in ways the original builders had never intended. They were creating hybrid systems that combined the best of human engineering with alien power. The results were incredible. Ships that could travel faster than anything in human space, weapons that could destroy asteroids, shields that could protect entire cities, manufacturing systems that could build things humans had only dreamed of, and all of it was built from garbage that the aliens had thrown away. Webb stood in his laboratory, surrounded by the fruits of human ingenuity and alien waste. The aliens had intended to humiliate humanity by treating them as a dumping ground. Instead, they had accidentally armed them with the combined technology of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The aliens were about to learn a very important lesson about humans. When you gave them tools, they found ways to use those tools that no one had ever imagined. And sometimes, those new uses could be very, very dangerous. Captain Lisa Rodriguez walked through the corridors of the UHS Defiance, her boots echoing against the metal floors that came from at least 6 different alien civilizations. The ship was a masterpiece of human engineering and alien technology. Though no alien engineer would ever call it beautiful, the Defiance had started life as a Vex cargo hauler, one of the massive ships that regularly dumped garbage in human space. 3 months ago, the ship had suffered a catastrophic engine failure while unloading waste near the colony of Haven's Rest. Instead of rescuing the crew, the Vex had simply abandoned the ship and its cargo, writing off both as acceptable losses. The humans of Haven's Rest had different ideas. They boarded the derelict vessel, rescued the surviving Vex crew members, and claimed the ship as salvage payment for 2 years of garbage dumping. The Vex had been so outraged by this presumption that they had threatened military action, but they never followed through. To them, the ship was worthless junk, not worth fighting over. To the humans, it was the foundation of something incredible. Rodriguez stopped at an observation window and looked out at the engine section. What she saw would have horrified any proper engineer. The original Vex propulsion system had been gutted and replaced with a collection of power cores from 17 different alien species. Human-built connecting cables snaked between the cores, like mechanical vines, creating a power distribution system that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. "Captain, we are getting strange readings from Engine Room 7 again," came a voice over the ship's communication system. Rodriguez recognized the voice of Chief Engineer Tommy Nakamura, a man who had learned to speak fluent profanity in 12 different human languages. "Strange how?" Rodriguez asked as she headed toward the engine rooms. "The Nethy's quantum core is trying to sync with the Vex crystal matrix again. Every time it happens, our power output jumps by about 30%, Rodriguez smiled. This was exactly the kind of problem she had learned to love. When they had first installed the mixed collection of alien power sources, every expert had told them it would never work. Alien technologies were designed to be incompatible with each other, preventing exactly this kind of hybrid system, but humans had a gift for making things work that should not work. Where alien engineers saw incompatibility, human engineers saw a challenge. They had spent weeks running cables, installing converters, and building interface systems that could translate between different alien technologies. The result was a ship that produced more power than vessels 3 times its size, moved faster than anything in its class, and could regenerate its shields using a combination of Vex crystalline technology and Nethy's energy manipulation. Rodriguez reached Engine Room 7 and found Nakamura staring at a display that showed power flows throughout the ship. The readings were indeed strange, but they were also impressive. "Tommy, remind me why this is a problem?" she asked. Nakamura scratched his head. "Well, technically it is not a problem. The power boost is actually very useful. It is just that, according to everything we know about alien technology, this should be impossible." "Maybe what we know about alien technology is wrong," Rodriguez suggested. "Or maybe the aliens never tried this because they thought it was too primitive." This had become a common theme throughout human space. Alien civilizations had advanced so far beyond basic engineering that they had forgotten how to improvise. They built perfect systems that did exactly what they were designed to do, nothing more and nothing less. Humans built systems that barely worked but could be modified, adapted, and improved on the fly. The communication system crackled to life again. "Captain, we have an incoming message from Admiral Chun on New Brisbane. Priority 1. Rodriguez made her way to the bridge, passing through sections of the ship that told the story of human adaptation. The crew quarters had been expanded using rooms salvaged from a Nethy's research vessel. The medical bay combined human surgical equipment with alien healing technology. The weapon systems were a mixture of components from at least a dozen different civilizations. On the bridge, she activated the long-range communication system. Admiral Sarah Chun appeared on the main screen, the same engineer who had made the first discoveries about alien technology on New Brisbane 2 years ago. Chun had been promoted rapidly as human space transformed itself from a collection of struggling colonies into something much more organized and dangerous. "Lisa, good to see the Defiance is still holding together," Chun said with a smile. "Barely, but that is how we like it," Rodriguez replied. "What can we do for you, Admiral?" Chun's expression became serious. "We have a situation. The Vex are starting to notice that something has changed in human space. 3 of their survey ships have detected unusual energy signatures from our colonies." Rodriguez felt her stomach tighten. This was the moment they had all been dreading. For 2 years, humans had been quietly collecting and adapting alien technology, growing stronger while trying to stay below the radar of the major galactic powers. "How bad is it?" Rodriguez asked. Bad enough that they are sending an investigation fleet to New Brisbane. 12 ships, including 2 of their heavy cruisers. They will be here in 4 days. Rodriguez looked around her bridge at the collection of alien and human technology that kept the Defiance running. The ship was powerful, but it was still just one vessel. Even with all their improvements, humanity could not hope to match the combined fleets of the Vex hierarchy. What are our orders? She asked. Chun smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. We are going to show them what happens when you underestimate humans. The Defiance is not the only hybrid ship we have built. Over the past 6 months, we have been quietly converting every vessel we can get our hands on. As if on cue, new contacts appeared on the Defiance's sensors. Ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel all around New Brisbane. Rodriguez counted them quickly and felt her eyes widen. There were at least 30 vessels, all of them showing the mixed energy signatures that indicated hybrid human-alien technology. My God, Rodriguez whispered. Where did they all come from? Every colony in human space has been working on this, Chun explained. Cargo ships with alien weapon systems, mining vessels with military-grade shields, even passenger liners equipped with Nethys cloaking devices. Nothing fancy, nothing perfect, but all of it functional. Rodriguez studied the fleet that was forming around New Brisbane. None of the ships looked like proper military vessels. They were a collection of converted civilian craft, salvaged alien hulks, and hybrid constructions that should not exist. By any normal standard, it was a joke of a fleet, but Rodriguez had learned not to judge things by normal standards. Admiral, what exactly are we planning to do with this fleet? She asked. Chun's smile became even more dangerous. We are going to teach the Vex a lesson about throwing away perfectly good technology. And we are going to do it using their own equipment. Over the next 3 days, the human fleet prepared for battle. Ships that had been designed for cargo transport were fitted with weapon systems salvaged from alien military vessels. Mining ships that had been built to crack asteroids were equipped with shields that could withstand direct hits from heavy weapons. The Defiance became the flagship of a squadron of converted vessels that included a former passenger liner now. Armed with Nethys energy weapons, a mining ship protected by Vex crystalline armor, and a cargo hauler that could now move faster than most military scouts, Rodriguez spent hours going over tactical plans with her fellow captains. None of them had formal military training, but they all understood human engineering principles. When something did not work the way it was supposed to, you made it work anyway. When you did not have the right tool for the job, you used whatever was available. On the morning of the 4th day, the Vex investigation fleet arrived at New Brisbane. 12 ships, sleek and perfect and built according to millions of years of advanced engineering. They took up positions around the planet and began broadcasting demands for inspection rights. Admiral Chun responded from her command ship, a converted research vessel that now bristled with weapons and sensors from a dozen different alien civilizations. Vex vessels, you are not welcome in human space. We suggest you leave immediately. The Vex response was predictable. They were outraged that a primitive species would dare to challenge them. They demanded immediate surrender and began moving their ships into attack positions. Rodriguez felt her heart pounding as she watched the tactical display. The Vex ships were larger, more advanced, and built by a civilization that had been masters of space warfare for millennia. By every measure, the human fleet should be destroyed within minutes, but the humans had one advantage that the Vex had never considered. Their ships were unpredictable. Built from salvaged parts and held together by determination, they did not follow any known engineering standards. Their weapons were combinations of technologies that should not work together. Their tactics were improvised moment by moment. The first Vex ship to open fire discovered this when its targeting systems failed to lock onto the Defiance properly. The ship's sensors expected to find predictable energy signatures and standardized shield frequencies. Instead, they found a vessel that registered as 17 different ship types simultaneously. Commander Zixcalith stared at the tactical display aboard his Vex command ship with growing disbelief. The readings made no sense. According to his instruments, his investigation fleet of 12 advanced warships had just been defeated by a collection of primitive human cargo vessels and mining ships. This was impossible. The humans were a young species that had barely learned to travel between stars. Their technology was crude, their ships were slow, and their weapons were pathetic. The idea that they could challenge the Vex hierarchy was laughable, yet half of his fleet was now debris floating in space, and the other half was retreating as fast as their engines could carry them. Communications officer, send an immediate report to Fleet Command, Zixcalith ordered, his crystal body flickering with colors that indicated extreme agitation. Tell them that the humans have somehow acquired advanced military technology. Request immediate reinforcements. The communications officer, a younger Vex whose crystalline structure was still bright and clear, hesitated. Commander, Fleet Command will want to know how primitive humans defeated our ships. What should I tell them? Zixcalith studied the sensor recordings of the battle. The human ships had moved in ways that made no sense. Their energy signatures were chaotic, showing power systems that should not work together. Their weapons fired in patterns that violated every known principle of space combat. Tell them that the humans are using hybrid technology, he said finally. Multiple alien systems combined in ways that are unpredictable. As his damaged ship limped away from New Brisbane, Zixcalith tried to understand what had gone wrong. The battle had started according to plan. His ships had taken up standard attack formations, their targeting systems had locked onto the human vessels, and they had opened fire with weapons that should have destroyed the entire human fleet in minutes, but nothing had worked as expected. The human ships had absorbed hits that should have vaporized them. Their shields had frequencies that changed constantly, making it impossible to find a resonance point. Their weapons had punched through Vex armor that had been designed to withstand anything in the galaxy. Most disturbing of all, the human ships had fought like no military force the Vex had ever encountered. There were no formations, no standard tactics, no predictable patterns. Each ship had seemed to make up its strategy as the battle progressed, adapting and changing in response to whatever was happening around it. It was primitive, it was chaotic. It should have been easily defeated. Instead, it had been devastatingly effective. 3 days later, the news of the human victory reached the Vex home worlds. The reaction was immediate and explosive. The idea that humans could defeat Vex warships was so outrageous that many refused to believe it. The few who did believe it demanded immediate military action to crush the human uprising before it could spread. Fleet Admiral Vyses Mordek called an emergency meeting of the Vex Military Council. The Admiral was ancient even by Vex standards. Her crystalline body worn smooth by centuries of service, she had fought in wars against a dozen different species and had never known defeat. The situation is worse than we initially believed, she announced to the assembled commanders. Our analysis of the battle recordings shows that the humans are not just using advanced technology. They are using our technology. The council chamber erupted in angry sounds as dozens of Vex officers expressed their outrage. The idea that inferior beings were using sacred Vex technology was an insult that could not be tolerated. How is this possible? Demanded General Kethvaler. Our technology is genetically locked. No other species should be able to activate it. Admiral Vyses Mordek activated a holographic display that showed debris from the battle. The humans are not activating our technology directly. They are combining it with systems from other species to create hybrid devices that work around our security measures. The display showed images of human ships that were clearly built from salvaged alien components. Vex power cores were connected to Nethi's computers. Alterian shield generators were powered by Zephyrin energy cells. Human-built. Interface systems tied everything together in configurations that no proper engineer would ever attempt. This is an abomination, whispered Commander Velostith. They are butchering advanced technology and forcing it to work in ways it was never intended. But it does work, Admiral Vyses Mordek replied grimly. And that makes the humans more dangerous than we realized. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Nethys Collective was having a similar discussion. Unlike the crystalline Vex, the Nethys existed as beings of pure energy, communicating through complex patterns of light and electromagnetic force. The dominant pattern known as Azure 7 Cascade had been monitoring Vex communications and was deeply disturbed by what it had learned. The humans were not just using Vex technology. They were using Nethys technology as well. Azure 7 Cascade called together the analyzing patterns, the part of the collective responsible for understanding threats to Nethys' interests. The meeting took place in a sphere of pure energy, with the various patterns appearing as complex geometric shapes of light. The situation requires immediate attention, Azure 7 Cascade pulsed. The humans have demonstrated the ability to weaponize discarded technology from multiple civilizations. A pattern known as Crimson 12 Spiral responded with flashes of concern. This should be impossible. Our security protocols prevent unauthorized use of Nethys technology. The humans are not using our technology directly, Azure 7 Cascade explained. They are connecting it to other systems in ways that bypass our security measures. Their approach is crude but effective. The analyzing patterns studied the data from the battle at New Brisbane. What they saw challenged everything. They thought they knew about technological development. The humans were taking advanced systems from dozens of different civilizations and somehow making them work together. This violates all established principles of technological integration. Observe the pattern called Violet 3 Harmony. Different alien technologies should be incompatible with each other. Yet the humans have found ways to make them compatible, Azure 7 Cascade replied. They are using primitive interface systems and crude conversion methods, but they are achieving results that our best engineers would consider impossible. The collective had always believed that advanced technology required advanced understanding. The idea that primitive beings could use sophisticated systems without comprehending them was deeply disturbing. Back in human space, Admiral Sarachun was reading reports from across all 12 star systems. The victory at New Brisbane had energized the human colonies, and everyone was working to build more hybrid ships and weapon systems. The colony on Kepler 7 had converted their entire mining fleet into a defensive force. The settlers on Ross Station had built orbital platforms using alien shield generators and power cores. Even the smallest outposts were now armed with weapons that could threaten major alien warships, but Chun knew that the real test was still coming. The aliens would not accept defeat at New Brisbane. They would send larger fleets, better prepared and more determined to crush the human rebellion. Chun walked through the corridors of her flagship, the former research vessel that had been transformed into humanity's most powerful warship. Every surface showed evidence of human adaptation and alien technology working together. Vex crystal matrices powered Nethys energy weapons. Alterian computers controlled Zephyrin propulsion systems. Human engineers maintained it all with spare parts, creative repairs, and pure stubborn determination. She stopped at the ship's main engineering section, where Chief Engineer David Park was working on their latest project. Park had been the young assistant who had helped make the first discoveries on New Brisbane. Now he was one of humanity's leading experts on alien technology integration. How is the new weapon system coming along? Chun asked. Park looked up from a device that seemed to be built from components of at least 6 different alien civilizations. It should not work, he said with a grin. According to every engineering principle I know, this combination of technologies should explode the moment we turn it on. But, Chun prompted. But we turned it on yesterday, and instead of exploding, it produced an energy beam that could probably cut a moon in half, Park replied. I have no idea why it works, but it definitely works. This was becoming humanity's signature approach to technology. They did not need to understand how alien systems worked. They just needed to find ways to make them work together. Where aliens saw incompatibility, humans saw opportunity. Chun received a priority message on her personal communicator. She activated it and saw the face of Captain Rodriguez from the UHS Defiance. "Admiral, we are getting reports from our long-range scouts," Rodriguez said. "The aliens are mobilizing. Both the Vex and the Nethys are assembling large fleets. It looks like they are planning a coordinated response." June felt a chill run down her spine. A coordinated response from both major alien powers would mean hundreds of ships, possibly thousands. Even with all their improvements, humanity could not hope to match that kind of firepower. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Maybe 2 weeks," Rodriguez replied. "3 if we are lucky." Chun looked around at the hybrid technology that surrounded her. 2. Admiral Sarah Shin stood on the bridge of her flagship as hundreds of alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. The combined fleet of the Vex hierarchy and Nethys collective was the largest military force assembled in the galaxy for over 1,000 years. 600 ships, ranging from massive battlecruisers to swift attack vessels, all focused on a single goal, the complete destruction of human civilization. Chun had known this moment would come. The victory at New Brisbane had been too public, too humiliating for the alien powers to ignore. Now they were responding with overwhelming force, determined to crush humanity before the infection of rebellion could spread to other species. "Admiral, we are getting final reports from all sectors," announced Communications Officer Williams. "Every human colony has confirmed they are ready." Chun nodded grimly. Over the past 2 weeks, humanity had made desperate preparations for this battle. Every ship that could fly had been converted into a weapon of war. Every colony had been turned into a fortress. Every piece of alien technology had been weaponized in ways their original builders had never imagined. It would not be enough. Chun knew that. Everyone knew that. The alien fleet outnumbered humanity's forces by more than 10 to 1, and their ships were built by civilizations with millions of years of military experience, but humans had learned something important over the past 2 years. Sometimes the outcome of a battle was less important than the message it sent. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," Chun ordered. The main screen activated, showing the images of Fleet Admiral Vyses Mordek of the Vex and the energy pattern known as HFY Cascade of the Nethys. Both alien commanders radiated confidence and contempt. "Human vessels, you will surrender immediately," Admiral Vyses Mordek announced, her crystalline body flickering with colors of authority. "Your rebellion ends now." Azure 7 Cascade pulsed with patterns of agreement. "Compliance is required. Resistance will result in total elimination." Chun looked at the 2 alien leaders who had come to destroy her species. Behind them, she could see the massive fleets that represented the combined military might of the galaxy's dominant civilizations. Ships that could destroy planets, weapons that could shatter moons, shields that could withstand the fury of stars. Then she looked around her own bridge, at the jury-rig systems and salvage technology that kept her ship running, at the human crew members who had learned to make alien technology work through pure determination and creative thinking, at the displays showing her own fleet, a collection of converted cargo ships, modified mining vessels, and hybrid constructions that should not exist. "You want to know something interesting about humans?" Chun said to the alien commanders. "We have a saying, one person's trash is another person's treasure. For 2 years, you have been sending us your trash, trying to break our spirit and show us how worthless you think we are." She stood up from her command chair, her voice growing stronger. "But you made a mistake. You forgot that humans do not break easily. And when we do not break, we become something you never expected. We become dangerous." Admiral Vyses Mordek's crystalline form flickered with colors of anger. "You dare threaten us with our own discarded technology? You are insects playing with forces you cannot understand." Chun smiled coldly. "You are right. We do not understand your technology. We cannot build it, we cannot repair it properly, and we definitely cannot improve it, but we can use it. And we can use it in ways you never thought possible." She gestured to her tactical officer. "Show them what we built." The human fleet began to move, and the alien commanders got their first close look at what humanity had created from their garbage. ships that registered as dozens of different vessel types simultaneously, weapons that combined technologies from multiple civilizations in configurations that violated every known engineering principle, shields that used power sources never intended to work together. Azure 7 Cascade pulsed with patterns of confusion. This is impossible. These hybrid systems should not function. But they do function, Chun replied. Because humans have one advantage that neither of your species possesses. We do not care about doing things the right way. We only care about doing things in ways that work. The alien fleet began to advance, confident that their superior numbers and advanced technology would quickly end the human rebellion. Admiral Vise's Mordek broadcast final surrender demands, threatening complete annihilation if humanity did not immediately submit. Chun's response was to give the order to attack. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The alien fleets fought with precision and coordination, their movements calculated by computers that could process millions of variables in milliseconds. Their weapons fired in perfect patterns, their shields operated at optimal frequencies, and their tactics followed strategies developed over millions of years of warfare. The human fleet fought with chaos and desperation. Ships broke formation to pursue individual targets. Captains ignored orders to follow their own instincts. Weapons fired in patterns that made no tactical sense but somehow achieved devastating results. Captain Rodriguez, commanding the UHS Defiance, found herself facing 3 Vex heavy cruisers. By every measure, her converted cargo hauler should have been destroyed in seconds. Instead, she ordered her ship to ram the lead cruiser while firing every weapon they had. The impact should have destroyed both ships. Instead, the Defiance's hybrid shield system, powered by 17 different alien power cores, absorbed most of the damage while the ship's weapons tore through the Vex vessel's perfect crystalline armor. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield. Human ships that should have been easy targets instead proved to be nightmarishly difficult to destroy. Their chaotic construction made them unpredictable. Their hybrid systems produced energy signatures that confused targeting computers. Their desperate tactics violated every principle of space combat. The aliens had the advantage in numbers, technology, and experience. But the humans had the advantage of being completely unpredictable. They fought like no military force the galaxy had ever encountered because they were not really a military force. They were engineers and miners and farmers who had learned to turn garbage into weapons. 3 hours into the battle, Admiral Vise's Mordek realized that her fleet was not winning. As easily as expected, human ships kept fighting even after suffering damage that should have disabled them. Their crews repaired battle damage with spare parts and creative solutions that no proper engineer would attempt. "This is impossible," she said to Azure 7 Cascade. "How are they still fighting?" The Nethi's pattern pulsed with frustrated energy. "Their technology is primitive, but their adaptation is remarkable. They are modifying their systems during combat, changing their capabilities faster than our computers can track." On the human side, Admiral Chun watched the battle unfold. From her command ship, humanity was losing. She could see that clearly. Her fleet was being slowly ground down by superior alien firepower and numbers. In another hour, maybe 2, the last human ship would be destroyed, but they had already achieved something important. The alien fleet, which should have swept through human space in a matter of minutes, had been fighting for hours. Ships that represented millions of years of engineering advancement were being damaged or destroyed by vessels built from garbage and determination. "Admiral," called her tactical officer, "we are getting a message from Earth, Priority Alpha." Chun activated the communication channel and saw the face of President Martinez, the leader of the human government. "Sarah, I wanted you to know that we are proud of what you have accomplished. The whole galaxy is watching this battle." Chen looked at the tactical display, which showed her fleet being steadily overwhelmed. "We are losing, Madam President." Martinez smiled. "No, Sarah, you are teaching. Every species in the galaxy is seeing this battle. They are seeing what happens when someone underestimates humans. They are seeing that advanced technology and superior numbers are not enough if your enemy refuses to give up. As if to prove her point, reports began coming in from across the galaxy. Other species, ones that had been quietly oppressed by the Vex and Nethys for centuries, were beginning to stir. The sight of humans fighting impossible odds with salvaged technology was inspiring rebellions on a dozen worlds. Admiral Thys's Mordek received these reports with growing alarm. The human rebellion was supposed to be a quick lesson in the consequences of challenging galactic order. Instead, it was becoming a symbol of resistance that was spreading to other species. "We need to end this quickly," she told Azure 7 Cascade. "Order all ships to focus fire on the human command vessel." The combined alien fleet turned its attention to Chun's flagship. Hundreds of weapons began firing at the converted research vessel that served as humanity's command ship. The ship's hybrid shields flared as they absorbed impossible amounts of energy. But even alien technology had limits. As her ship began to break apart around her, Chun opened the final communication channel to the alien fleet. Her image appeared on screens throughout the combined armada, showing a human who was battered but unbroken. "You sent us junk to break us," she said, her voice carrying across space to both enemy fleets and human colonies. "You wanted to bury us under,"